Imagine a world in which every single international transaction, whether it be a consumer or a business transaction, regardless of its size, is processed not through SWIFT, but rather through the XRP ledger. We might be closer to that planet than we think we are. For the purpose of this speculative deep dive, we are going to investigate a theory that is entirely supported by data, namely that the traditional financial system is getting ready to replace SWIFT with RippleNet, and that XRP, the digital asset that is at the core of RippleNet, is being prepared for a role that is so massive that it could only be supported by a valuation of $25,000. However, by the time you reach the conclusion of this movie, you could have a better understanding of why it is not only feasible, but also mathematically necessary. Now, let's start with what we already know. SWIFT, which stands for the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication, is the foundation upon which the modern process of global money movement is built. Nevertheless, it is a laborious process, costly, and prone to failure. It can take anywhere from 3 to 5 business days for transactions to be completed, and the expenses can skyrocket when many middlemen are involved. The default programming language for decades has been Swift, although it was never intended to be used in the digital economy. Ripple, on the other hand, developed RippleNet with the concerns of today in mind, including speed, efficiency, interoperability, and real-time settlement. All right, let's speculate. Imagine for a moment that Swift has already lost the future. Within the context of this made-up situation, a confidential report from the Bank for International Settlements is disclosed to the audience, a comprehensive timeline with the title Swift Decommissioning and RippleNet Transition 2025-2027, maybe FU, and within it, the document provides an overview of the phases of transformation, beginning with experimental integrations across BRICS-aligned nations and culminating in a global migration deadline that is 90 days from now. Following the completion of this migration, the previous system will be disconnected. A single undeniable reality is brought to light in the report. It is necessary for the bridge asset, XRP, to have sufficient value to support instant liquidity across all currency pairs around the world in order for it to be able to replace SWIFT completely. $25,000 per XRP is the minimum that has been calculated, and that's only to make sure there are no bottlenecks in the flow of real-time data. The market has been taken aback. It has been revealed that a fictitious tweet from a purported SWIFT insider has been leaked, saying that the migration is indeed taking place. The new rails are that of XRP. Despite the fact that it is obviously speculative, it attracts attention all across the world. The cryptocurrency known as XRP has been positioned for many years as a bridge asset, which is a neutral currency that can transmit value across fiat systems in a frictionless manner. RippleNet is already connected to more than 300 financial institutions, and negotiations are taking place with central banks. As a result, the concept begins to appear less like science fiction and more like a logical continuation. First, let's have a look at the mechanics. Assume that all of the major banks are now required to settle payments in real time today. Consequently, access to XRP liquidity is required for each and every transaction that has a total volume of trillions of dollars each day. But here's where things get interesting. In total, there are 100 billion XRP tokens available for use. Many are stored in escrow, misplaced, or retained for an extended period of time. Only a small portion of that will really be available in liquid form. In the event that global banks require XRP in order to transfer money instantaneously, where will they obtain it? The free market is the source. I am writing to you from the holders. Inside the context of this made-up story, financial institutions are not merely encouraged to purchase XRP, rather they are compelled to do so in order to continue operating inside the new financial ecosystem. Being able to continue operations becomes a question of survival. As soon as they begin purchasing in large quantities, supply shock begins to take effect. XRP disappears from exchanges, over-the-counter desks become depleted, and retail investors who are surprised by the news begin to realize that the tokens they have been holding might potentially become the most requested digital assets on the entire planet. There is an increase in the pricing, first $10, then $50, then $500, and then swiftly into the 5 figures. In this circumstance, let's consider the possibility of additional layer. It is now necessary for liquidity providers and algorithmic market makers to source XRP in order to satisfy the number of transactions. The urgency increases in tandem with the steepness of the demand curve. JP Morgan, HSBC, and Citi are among the financial institutions who are considering giving premiums to purchase XRP off-market. Emergency cryptocurrency allocation funds have been launched by BlackRock and Fidelity. A slippage buffer of 10 times is used by exchanges when listing XRP. In addition, the built-in burn mechanism of the XRPL burns a small portion of each transaction in a stealthy manner, which further reduces the supply. At this point, the narrative shifts from speculative reasoning to logic that is supported by theory. By intentionally putting its technology in the hands of institutions who were previously opposed to cryptocurrency, Ripple has been able to achieve its goals. Members of SWIFT are currently testing ISO 2022. Ripple already complies with the ISO 2022 standard. The rollout of CBDCs is already underway, and Ripple is currently working on pilot programs that will connect these CBDCs. While retail attention has been shifting to meme coins and hype tokens, each and every piece of this puzzle has been silently building in the background during this entire process. Premiums to purchase XRP off-market. Emergency cryptocurrency allocation funds have been launched by BlackRock and Fidelity. A slippage buffer of 10 times is used by exchanges when listing XRP. In addition, the built-in burn mechanism of the XRPL burns a small portion of each transaction in a stealthy manner, which further reduces the supply. At this point, the narrative shifts from speculative reasoning to logic that is supported by theory. By intentionally putting its technology in the hands of institutions who were previously opposed to cryptocurrency, Ripple has been able to achieve its goals. Members of SWIFT are currently testing ISO 2022. Ripple already complies with the ISO 2022 standard. The rollout of CBDCs is already underway, and Ripple is currently working on pilot programs that will connect these CBDCs. While retail attention has been shifting to meme coins and hype tokens, each and every piece of this puzzle has been silently building in the background during this entire process. Moving on, let's discuss the pricing point of $25,000, shall we? Until you take into account the requirements for liquidity on a worldwide scale, it appears to be absurd. The BIS estimates that the foreign exchange market handles more than $7.5 trillion every single day. Despite the fact that XRP is only responsible for 10% of that, the desire for rapid settlement within 3 seconds necessitates a substantial amount of liquidity. When the price of XRP is $1, that is not possible. When the price is $100, it is still difficult, but when the price is $25,000, the statistics suddenly make sense. At that price, a single XRP can manage relatively big settlements with only a small amount of friction. To begin, according to our fictitious countdown, we have 90 days until SWIFT ceases operations. The banks are currently competing against the clock. Those individuals who have not yet acquired XRP are subject to fines, but those individuals who have, particularly those who were early adopters, have a strategic advantage. This kind of hyperbolic ascent is being experienced by the pricing. In a strange turn of events, media sources who had previously disregarded XRP are now extolling its usefulness. A fresh storyline is being told. XRP did not moon, rather it became older. According to the velocity and use case of XRP, analysts are producing models that demonstrate how the cryptocurrency can genuinely sustain price stability, even at a price of $25,000. While this is going on, countries are beginning to allocate XRP into sovereign digital reserves, much as they used to do with gold. As for the average investor, what about them? The people that held on to XRP through the SEC litigation, through the delisting, and through the onslaught from the media are now at the center of the largest financial rebalance in the history of the world, according to this hypothetical but meticulously crafted scenario. Once the digital migration is finished, SWIFT will no longer exist, RippleNet will be operational, and XRP will no longer be considered only a cryptocurrency. In today's modern financial system, it is the layer that deals with liquidity. In the meantime, let's bring this back down to earth. This narrative is a work of fiction, a hypothetical situation that is intended to both amuse and stimulate thought. The roots of the story, however, are extremely real. These include the rising discontent with SWIFT, the global drive towards CBDCs, Ripple's institutional alliances, and XRP's distinctive role in on-demand liquidity. There is no way for us to ensure that XRP will reach $10, $100, or even $25,000 in the future. To tell you the truth, everyone who is serious about the future of finance absolutely needs to have a solid understanding of the mechanics, supply restrictions, and expanding utility of this asset. Your participation in this hypothetical thought exercise is greatly appreciated. For other